Wang Heng's request has already reached the limit. He looked at Luo Feng expectantly. Sorry? Luo Feng slightly bowed. Thank you, Thunder Dojo. However, I've already joined the Dojo of Limits and never thought of transferring, so sorry. Wang Heng froze. You rejected? You're not going to think about it? The burly man stared as he frowned. No need. Luo Feng stood up and slightly bowed. Mr. Wang, if there's nothing else, I'll be leaving first. Luo Feng was clear that since he rejected him, it would be awkward for them to sit together. Wang Heng carefully looked at Luo Feng. This young man didn't even waver when faced with temptation. Wang Heng couldn't help but to sigh in his heart. He waved his hand and smiled. All right, I won't try to persuade you anymore. If you ever want to, the Thunder Dojo's door will always be open for you. Thank you, Mr. Wang. Luo Feng smiled as he left. After Luo Feng left, Wang Heng's face sank and yelled, Tell Wandong to come. Yes, chief. The underlings outside immediately went to inform Wandong. Who would have thought that the Dojo of Limits would get another talent? Wang Heng rubbed his chin and squinted his eyes. Ever since the Phantom War God got injured and retired. In this Jiangnan headquarters city, our Thunder Dojo has always been at a disadvantage compared to the Dojo of Limits. Sigh. Wang Heng was also panicking. In the entire world, the Dojo of Limits and the Thunder Dojo are the two largest dojos. And the founders are the world's strongest and second strongest. Naturally, the higher-ups of the Thunder Dojo and the Dojo of Limits all smiled on the surface. However, in reality they're secretly opposing each other and want to suppress each other. In some of the headquarter cities in the world, the Thunder Dojo's power surpasses the Dojo of Limits. However, in Jiangnan headquarter city, the Dojo of Limits' power is stronger. Chief, the grim youth Wandong walked in. As Wandong looked around, he was filled with confidence. Clearly, the fact that he killed more monsters than Luo Feng in this year's fighter combat exam made Wandong even more confident. Wandong. Wang Heng let out a smile. You're the best new fighter in our Thunder Dojo. However, your current strength is still a bit lacking compared to Luo Feng. Manager. Wandong was anxious. Was there a difference between him and Luo Feng? You doubt my words. Wang Heng frowned. Wandong shook his head. He knew that the supervisor in front of him used to be a high-level warlord martial artist. At the same time, he also had the position of supervisor, which brought about various special powers. In terms of status, he's not any weaker than a war god. How could such a person lie? I'm telling you clearly, your physique is not worse than his. However, in a real battle, even three of you can't beat one Luo Feng, said Wang Heng seriously. However, the difference between you and him is huge. But that doesn't mean you'll be weaker than him in the future. What you need to do now is to work hard and surpass him. I've seen many geniuses, but many of them have fallen. Martial artists walk on the edge of life and death. Your talent is good, but it only means that you started earlier. You've just become a martial artist? You've just started on this path. Don't relax, Luo Feng is just the first opponent you have to surpass. In the future you will surpass even more opponents. Wang Heng encouraged, I hope that one day I can see the birth of a new war god. Wandong's blood was boiling. Yeah, Luo Feng is just the first opponent. In the future he will surpass even more people until he becomes a war god. Alright, you can go. You've been killing all night, so you should get some rest, smiled Wang Heng. Yes, Supervisor. Wandong respectfully left. Wang Heng shook his head, raised his teacup and took a sip. After all these years, ever since he took the position of supervisor, he has been trying his best to raise geniuses. Either to pressure these geniuses or to attract them with money, instruction manuals, etc., etc. The more fighters he raises, the more powerful they become. And the more stable his position is. This Wandong, maybe he'll give me a surprise in the future, laughed Wang Heng. However, I won't ask for much from him. It'll be good enough if he can catch up to Luo Feng. Hee. An 18-year-old Weiwei level fighter with a good body fitness level. What a good seedling. Wang Heng shook his head and drank his tea, not thinking about it anymore. No matter what, Luo Feng and Wandong are just good seedlings. Jiangnan headquarters city's northern military sector. Luo Feng and Yang Wu, who had already changed into their own clothes, were chatting as they walked. Crazy, the way that Wandong was looking at you just now didn't seem right. He even said something like, he wants to compete with you to see who can become a warlord-level fighter first, said Yang Wu with confusion. Who knows what's going on, but that Wandong seems to be treating me as an opponent. Luo Feng was also confused about Wandong's words. However, he didn't know that after Wang Heng's words, Wandong has already treated Luo Feng as his first opponent. I passed the combat exam, so I need to notify my family, smiled Luo Feng as he took out his cell phone. Brother Yang, you should notify your family too. Okay, laughed Yang Wu as he nodded. Luo Feng and Yang Wu both called their families. Jiangnan headquarters city, Yangzhou City, Mingyue sector. Honghua, your family's Luo Feng will definitely pass this fighter combat exam. Luo Honghua and Gong Xinlan pushed their son Luo Hua's wheelchair as they chatted with a white-haired old man. Is this combat exam dangerous? Gong Xinlan couldn't help but to ask. My family's Feng said it's not dangerous, but we saw on the internet that it's dangerous. Okay, it's still a bit dangerous. The white-haired old man nodded. According to what my son said, the fighter combat exam usually has a 3% to 5% death rate. The disability rate is around 5% to 8%. In other words, over 100 prospective fighters will be crippled in a single fighter combat exam. Luo Honghua and Gong Xinlan looked at each other and were extremely nervous. Your family's phone will be fine, don't worry, laughed the white-haired old man. Okay. Luo Honghua and Gong Xianlan nodded. Even though they acted like that on the surface, they were still extremely nervous. Luo Hua, who was sitting in his wheelchair, didn't say a word, but his fists were tightly clenched. Suddenly, a cheerful ringtone rang. Gong Xianlan took out her phone from her pocket and let out a happy expression. She looked to the side and said, "It's Feng's call." "Hurry up and answer it," said Luo Honghua. Luo Hua was also staring at his phone, and the white-haired old man was also smiling. "Hello." Gong Xianlan picked up the phone and put it on speaker. "Mom, I passed the fighter combat exam, so I'll be home tonight. You have to prepare some good food." The voice on the phone was heard by everyone around. Luo Honghua laughed. Luo Hua, who was sitting in his wheelchair with his fists tightly clenched, finally relaxed and laughed. Okay, Mom will definitely prepare a lot of good food." Gong Xianlan was extremely excited. August 2nd evening, Yangzhou City's Mingyue sector. Luo Feng's back, congratulations. Congratulations my ass, that fighter combat exam wasn't difficult for Luo Feng at all. As he walked on the sector road, Luo Feng smiled as he greeted the fighters he saw. The number of fighters in human society is much smaller than the number of regular people. In this Mingyue sector, only the families of fighters can live here, and they all joined the dojo of limits, so everyone naturally has a good relationship with each other. Mom, Dad, Luo Feng immediately saw his parents and the nanny standing in front of his door. Let's eat, Luo Honghua immediately laughed. That night, Luo Feng and his family were extremely happy. Since from this moment on, from a legal perspective, Luo Feng is now an official fighter. After 11 p.m. Luo Feng's home's second floor's recording room. They say that once you officially become a fighter, you can enter the Dojo of Limits internal fighter network. Luo Feng was a bit excited. Some special internal networks require a specific identity to enter. Only the fighters of the Dojo of Limits have the right to enter the Dojo of Limits internal fighter network. Home of Limits. And the HR Alliance's platform. As long as you're a fighter, you can log in. Home of Limits. Luo Feng typed in the website through his keyboard. Suddenly, a gigantic 200-inch screen appeared on one of the walls of the recording room. The website Home of Limits immediately appeared on the screen. Beep. Luo Feng checked his fingerprint. Beautiful music flowed through the recording room like flowing water. At the same time, a person's page appeared on the gigantic screen. On the top was Luo Feng's picture, and below was a few information forms. Name, Luo Feng. Gender, male. Address, China, Jiangnan Headquarters City. Fighter identification number, 426-123-2056080100002. Level, Warrior Beginner. Contribution, 0 points. Balance, 20 million Chinese dollars. In the quiet video room, Luo Feng held a cup of hot tea and took a sip. His gaze landed on the gigantic screen on the wall of the video room. 20 million Chinese dollars? Sure enough, the money promised by the Dojo of Limits has arrived. At the top of the webpage there was a row of buttons. One of them was flashing and there was a line of words on it. You have 2 new emails. Luo Feng's finger lightly tapped on the wireless keyboard and opened the mailbox. Hua. When he opened the first email, a video immediately appeared. Hello Mr. Luo Feng. A middle-aged man wearing a black suit appeared on the gigantic screen and smiled. I am Chief Zhu Ji's assistant. I'm sure you've seen the 20 million that the chief promised. As for technique, blade, and Daoyin techniques manuals, you can directly purchase them through the internal network as long as the price doesn't exceed 100 million. The internal network will reimburse you and won't deduct a single cent. If the price exceeds 100 million, Mr. Luo Feng will have to pay for the excess. At the same time, on behalf of the chief, I congratulate Mr. Luo Feng on passing the fighter combat exam. After saying that, the video ended. The Dojo of Limits treats me pretty well. Luo Feng opened the second email. It was also a video. Respected new fighter Luo Feng, hello. I represent the Dojo of Limits in welcoming you to our big family. A sweet-looking girl smiled. This is the first time you've entered the Dojo of Limits internal network. Home of Limits. Let me introduce you to the uses of the Home of Limits. First, in the Home of Limits, you can purchase all sorts of weapons, Daoyin techniques, technique manuals, attack type manuals like blade techniques, spear techniques, sword techniques, etc. There are also hot weapons, transportation tools, protective gear, communication systems, special bombs, special medicine, genetic medicine, and even some special materials and treasures. As long as you have enough money, you can buy them all. Once you pay, the goods will be delivered within 24 hours. Through the Home of Limits, you can even ask a warlord-level fighter or even a war god-level fighter to teach you one-on-one through the internet. Similarly, you have to pay enough money. The girl in the video smiled. If you have enough contribution points, then the prices of the above items will be halved. Luo Feng was shocked. If he had enough contribution points, he would only need 50 million to buy an item that was worth 100 million. Contribution points were really useful. However, his current contribution points were only 0. There are many uses for contribution points, not just for purchasing items. For example, once your contribution points reach a certain level, you can call upon the Dojo of Limits special teams, etc. The girl in the video smiled. The more contribution points you have, the higher your position in the Dojo of Limits will be. You'll also have more power and benefits. There are 2 main ways to earn contribution points. One is to kill monsters and harvest an important material from the monster's body. Sell this important material to the Dojo of Limits. You can earn money and contribution points. The second is to donate to the Dojo of Limits. The more money you donate, the more contribution points you get. Currently the ratio was, donating 10,000 Chinese dollars would earn you 1 contribution point. In the donation system, the minimum donation was 10 million yuan, and martial artists could donate up to 100 billion yuan. In other words, the maximum number of contribution points you can get through the donation system is 10 million points. Luo Feng took in a deep breath. What the hell? There's a limit to donations? I can donate up to 100 billion? And the Dojo of Limits won't accept that much? It was 100 billion yuan. It seemed like the richest person in China on the Forbes list only had a little more than 100 billion yuan in assets. The wealthiest person in the world on the Forbes list only has 120 billion US dollars, which is equivalent to 420 billion Chinese dollars. Of course, the Forbes list only shows some of the wealthiest people in the world. For example, some of the wealthiest families have more wealth than some of the wealthiest people in the world. But that's the accumulation of their entire family. Mr. Luo Feng, let me remind you that killing monsters is the best way to earn contribution points. Not only can you earn contribution points, but you can also earn money, laughed the girl in the video. You have some money right now, so please don't buy it immediately. You can enter the fighter forums information section and carefully read up on some basic knowledge of fighters. This will be very beneficial for you when choosing manuals and buying weapons. Finally, I wish Mr. Luo Feng all the best in our Dojo of Limits family and reach the pinnacle of fighters. After saying that, the girl in the video bowed and the video ended. Luo Feng was shocked as he listened. The Dojo of Limits internal network, the home of limits, is indeed very useful. The thing that attracts Luo Feng the most is that he can use money to directly invite warlord or even war god level fighters to teach him one-on-one. Even though he has 20 million Chinese dollars, Luo Feng wasn't in a rush to buy weapons and other items. Instead, he wanted to familiarize himself with the Home of Limits internal network. The Home of Limits website has many functions. It's split into many sections such as accepting missions, posting missions, chatting with guests, training sections, and donation systems. However, the two sections that attract Luo Feng the most are the Fighter Forum and the Internet Marketplace. The Internet Marketplace has everything. All sorts of Daoyin techniques, agility instruction manuals, blade instruction manuals, hot weapons, cold weapons, genetic medicine, etc. In short, the Internet Marketplace is a place to spend money. Fighter Forum. Luo Feng entered the forum and then entered the Basic Fighter Knowledge Database subforum. In this subforum, there weren't any replies, there was only a large amount of basic information. Spirit Reader, Spirit Reader? Luo Feng kept flipping through the pages, looking for information on Spirit Readers. Finally, HM? That's it. Luo Feng saw a post, simple descriptions of Spirit Readers. Brothers, I see that you guys don't know much about Spirit Readers, so I'll give you a simple introduction. Luo Feng laughed when he saw this first sentence. Clearly, this so-called Fighter Forum database is just a collection of posts written by many fighters and isn't official information. Spirit Readers can be said to be the most feared group of people in the circle of fighters. First of all, you can't become a Spirit Reader just by training. Every Spirit Reader is talented and awakened on their own. The post description was very colloquial. When they haven't awakened, they might just be normal fighters. But when they awaken, then they become powerful. How powerful? First of all, Spirit Readers are split into two types. One type of Spirit Reader controls objects. In other words, they control things like spikes and throwing knives to attack from afar. Spirit Readers can control objects from afar, which is much more powerful than some heavy sniper rifle bullets. A sniper rifle bullet's trajectory is pretty much a straight line. And the weapons controlled by Spirit Readers don't have any pattern. Besides the pattern, the damage is also different. For example, heavy machine guns and heavy sniper rifles have limited damage. Even the best sniper rifles have a hard time killing a low-level commander-level monster. However, the power of a Spirit Reader's spikes and flying knives increases with their Spirit Reader's power. There are quite a few Spirit Readers who can kill Horde Leader-level monsters. Among Spirit Readers besides those who can control objects, the second type is to directly attack the monster's soul. This type is a bit more mysterious. It directly attacks the monster's soul. Once it succeeds, the monster's body won't be harmed at all, but it will immediately die. However, attacking the soul is a bit difficult. Apparently, there are very few Spirit Readers who know how to use spiritual attacks. Besides controlling objects from afar and spiritual attacks, there are other types of Spirit Readers. However, I'm not too sure about them. Luo Feng looked at every word, not daring to miss a single sentence. Actually, what I'm most jealous of is the speed at which Spirit Readers improve. Spirit Reader masters were born with extremely powerful Spirit Reader powers. However, when they were young, their bodies couldn't handle such powerful spiritual force, so they hid it in their subconscious. When their fitness level gets stronger and stronger, they reach a certain level. Then their spiritual force will appear. The stronger your fitness level, the more spiritual force you can handle. Fighters are divided into the warrior level, beginner, intermediate, advanced, warrior level, beginner, intermediate, advanced, war god level, beginner, intermediate, advanced, a total of 9 levels. The difference between your fitness level and your spiritual force is 2 levels. If your body is at the beginner warrior level, then your spiritual force is at the advanced warrior level. If your body is at the intermediate warrior level, then your spiritual force is at the beginner warlord level. Spirit readers have a period of rapid increase in strength. Because they were born with extremely powerful spiritual force, it's just that it always hides in their subconscious. As your body gets stronger, the hidden spiritual force will appear more. As your body gets stronger, your spiritual force gets stronger. Until one day, all of the hidden spiritual force is unearthed. At this time, the spirit reader's increase in strength will become extremely slow. Luo Feng froze when he saw this part. So, when a spirit reader increases in strength, it's actually unearthing the hidden spiritual force. Only with a strong enough body can you handle enough spiritual force. So, the potential of a spirit reader depends on how much spiritual force is hidden in their subconscious. Some of the hidden spiritual force exists in a liquid form, while others exist in a liquid and solid form. Some exist in a completely solid form. Legend has it that in the subconscious, if the hidden spiritual force condenses into a solid form, it means that the spiritual force is extremely powerful. It's the group of people with the highest potential in the spiritual force community. As their fitness level increases, the spiritual force in the solid form will continuously be released, causing their strength to increase. Until one day when the solid form completely disintegrates. Only then will their period of rapid increase in strength end. Luo Feng suppressed the excitement in his heart and continued to read until he finished reading the entire post. After that, Luo Feng flipped through the database and found 2 other posts about spirit readers. The descriptions are pretty much the same, looks like it's true. Luo Feng nodded, then. The dark golden ball in my subconscious should be a solid form formed by an extremely large amount of spiritual force. I'm so lucky that I survived after awakening. Luo Feng sighed. According to the 3 posts that he saw, when a spirit reader awakens, their subconscious will instantly explode with an extremely large amount of spiritual force. If the awakening fails, they can become an idiot, a vegetable, or even die from bleeding from their orifices. No wonder my head hurts every day since I was young, and I even fainted a few times. Luo Feng realized, looks like my body is too weak and my spiritual force is too strong. My body can't handle it, which is why my head hurts. And as my body fitness level increases, this headache keeps decreasing. Now it's completely gone. Ever since Luo Feng awakened, his headache has completely disappeared. The dark golden ball is actually a solid form formed by spiritual force. I wonder just how much spiritual force it contains. Luo Feng couldn't help but to guess. Luo Feng flipped through a lot of posts in the fighter forum, such as 50 questions for a fighter to kill a monster, wilderness survival knowledge, how to avoid provoking a commander-level monster, 28 ways to escape. All sorts of posts made Luo Feng understand a lot. He also understood the hardships of a martial artist. Martial artists had a high status in human society, but that was earned by risking their lives. Yes, these posts make sense. Movement techniques, offensive techniques, and Daoyin techniques are the most important to a martial artist. The Daoyin technique determined the improvement of a martial artist's strength. And one's technique and attacks determine a fighter's battle strength. Luo Feng also agreed after reading the thread. These 3 secret manuals were the most important to a martial artist. If you have money, you should spend it on these 3 areas. No wonder the Dojo of Limits promised to let me buy these 3 instruction manuals for free. Luo Feng also knew that the Dojo of Limits wanted their people to be strong. Let's enter the online shopping mall to take a look. Luo Feng tapped on the wireless keyboard and entered the web store page. Suddenly, the gigantic screen on the recording room's wall displayed all sorts of detailed item categories. Luo Feng selected Instruction Manuals, Attack Type, and clicked 3 times. Suddenly, the screen showed pictures of instruction manuals, along with their names and prices. Armageddon Type, Spear Technique. Evaluation, Ultimate. Price, 100 billion Chinese dollars, full price, 50 billion Chinese dollars, half price. Requirement, 4-star contribution points. 9-fold Thunder Blade Type, Blade Technique. Phantom Blade Technique. Type, Blade Technique. Evaluation, Price, 10 billion Chinese dollars, full price, 5 billion Chinese dollars, half price. Requirement, 3-star contribution points. Fog Sword, Type, Sword Technique, Grade S. Price, 3 billion Chinese dollars, full price, 1.5 billion Chinese dollars, half price. Requirement, 3-star contribution points. Luo Feng's eyes gleamed as he looked at the huge list of instruction manuals. Heavens, the world's strongest martial artist, Hong's Spear Art Armageddon is also being sold? This 9-stage Thunder Blade belongs to the 2nd strongest person in the world, God of Thunder? Luo Feng was immediately captivated by the ultimate spear technique and blade technique at the very top. But the price at the back made him dumbfounded. Full price of 100 billion? The half price was 50 billion, and the requirement for the half price was to have 4-star contribution points? 4-star contribution points, that means 10 million contribution points? Luo Feng was very clear about the classification of contribution points. Once the contribution points reached 10,000, they would be promoted to 1 star. When one's contribution points reached 100,000, they would be ranked as 2 stars. When the contribution points reached 1 million, they would be promoted to 3 stars. Once the contribution points reached 10 million, they would be ranked 4 stars. 50 million contribution points was the legendary 5-star contribution points. It was almost impossible to reach 5 stars. The difficulty was too high. Armageddon is known as the world's #1 offensive technique. Luo Feng clicked on Destroyer and opened it. He curiously looked at the introduction of Destroyer. After all, this is the strongest spear technique on Earth. Most fighters who read this instruction manual would probably look at the introduction. Luo Feng stared. Surprisingly, there were many offers on the Armageddon manual. Armageddon, all 6 levels, price, 100 billion Chinese dollars full price, 50 billion Chinese dollars half price. Requirements, 4-star contribution points. Armageddon, first 5 levels, price, 40 billion Chinese dollars full price, 20 billion Chinese dollars half price. Requirements, 4-star contribution points. Armageddon, first 4 levels, price, 15 billion Chinese dollars full price, 7.5 billion Chinese dollars half price. Requirements, 3-star contribution points. Armageddon, first level, price, 200 million Chinese dollars full price, 100 million Chinese dollars half price. Requirements, 1-star contribution points. What, this instruction manual can be split and sold? Luo Feng thought about it carefully. That's right. If an ultimate spear technique like Armageddon were to be sold, who could afford it? The price would be astronomical. Also, even if someone bought it, they would have to start training from the first level. How many fighters can train to the 6th level? Most fighters would probably only be able to train to the first level in their entire lives and would never be able to break through to the 2nd level. This ultimate instruction manual, no wonder it's the attack technique of the world's strongest fighter. Luo Feng stared at the introduction. Who would have thought that this spear technique would have a movement technique as well? Buying this instruction manual is the same as buying both the agility instruction manual and the attack instruction manual. Luo Feng was indeed tempted. Sadly, 1, he's a blade user. 2, he can't afford it at that price. 9-stage Thunder Blade, an ultimate instruction manual just like Armageddon. Luo Feng immediately opened the 9-stage Thunder Blade webpage. If Luo Feng was looking at the Armageddon instruction manual out of curiosity, then Luo Feng was looking at the 9-stage Thunder Blade manual. Now that he's looking at the 9-stage Thunder Blade manual, Luo Feng was looking forward to it. 9-stage Thunder Blade, this is the instruction manual that every blade user wants the most. Luo Feng carefully looked at the introduction. The introduction said that this 9-stage Thunder Blade is the hardest technique to learn in the world. Even though it's called a blade technique, it also has a movement technique. And it has a unique Daoing technique. The reason why the 9-stage Thunder Blade is hard to learn is because it has extremely high requirements for the body's strength, muscle sensitivity, etc. A blade technique that has a movement technique and Daoing technique? Luo Feng was overjoyed. If the price is right, I can buy it. Luo Feng carefully looked at the price. 9-stage Thunder Blade, all 9 stages. Price, 100 billion Chinese dollars full price, 50 billion Chinese dollars half price. Requirement, 4-star contribution points. 9-stage Thunder Blade, first 8 stages. Price, 50 billion Chinese dollars full price, 25 billion Chinese dollars half price. Requirement, 4-star contribution points. 9-stage Thunder Blade, first 5 stages. Price, 2 billion Chinese dollars full price, 1 billion Chinese dollars half price. Requirement, 3-star contribution points. 9-stage Thunder Blade, first 4 stages. Price, 500 million Chinese dollars full price, 250 million Chinese dollars half price. Requirement, 2-star contribution points. 9-stage Thunder Blade, first 3 stages. Price, 200 million Chinese dollars full price, 100 million Chinese dollars half price. Requirement, 2-star contribution points. 9-stage Thunder Blade, first 2 stages. Price, 100 million Chinese dollars full price, 50 million Chinese dollars half price. Requirement, 2-star contribution points. 9-stage Thunder Blade, first stage. Price, 50 million Chinese dollars full price, 25 million Chinese dollars half price. Requirement, 1-star contribution points. Luo Feng looked at the price. Clearly, the 9-stage Thunder Blade has 9 stages, so it's clearly cheaper than the Armageddon. Luo Feng frowned. At the bottom of the webpage there was an eye-catching red notification. 9-stage Thunder Blade is an ultimate blade technique. It's extremely difficult to learn and extremely difficult to learn. Countless fighters choose this blade technique, but they can't even learn the first stage. Please choose this blade technique carefully. Luo Feng looked at the notification and hesitated. Clearly, this blade technique is extremely difficult to learn, but once it's learned, it's extremely powerful. Should I buy it or not? Since it's not a small amount. In the dark recording room, the large screen displayed the introduction of the 9-stage Thunder Blade. Luo Feng sat quietly on the sofa thinking by himself. If he really wants to buy the 9-stage Thunder Blade, it's not a small amount. Even for fighters, this amount of money is astronomical. If I'm going to learn it, I'll learn the best. Luo Feng clenched his teeth and his eyes lit up. I don't believe that I can't learn it. Ever since he was young, Luo Feng has always worked hard. I'm a spirit reader, and the spiritual force hidden in my realm of consciousness has formed into a dark golden ball. My strength will increase by leaps and bounds. I don't believe that I can't learn the 9-stage Thunder Blade. Luo Feng has always had a belief, which is also what the Dojo of Limits teaches its students. Pursue the limit and surpass the limit. There's another saying, if you don't want to be the world's #1 fighter, then you're not a qualified fighter. I'll definitely learn the 9-stage Thunder Blade. Luo Feng took in a deep breath and lightly tapped the screen. Please confirm if you want to buy the first 3 stages of the 9-stage Thunder Blade. You need to pay 100 million Chinese dollars. A notification appeared on the screen. This is Luo Feng's first purchase. According to the contract between him and the Dojo of Limits, the first time he buys an attack technique, agility technique, or blade technique, he doesn't have to pay any contribution points and can enjoy the best price. Confirm. Luo Feng tapped. Please pass fingerprint verification and confirm again. A notification appeared on the screen. Luo Feng placed his finger on the fingerprint detector on the wireless keyboard. Beep. Fingerprint verification completed. Purchase successful. Deduction successful. The first 3 stages of the 9-stage Thunder Blade will be delivered to Mr. Luo Feng's home within 24 hours. A notification appeared on the screen. Luckily, according to my contract with the Dojo of Limits, the first time I buy, I can ignore the contribution point limit and buy at the best price. Luo Feng felt his heart racing. He couldn't help it. This is a whole 100 million Chinese dollars. Buying Zhang Haobai's villa would be a piece of cake. What's more, Luo Feng's family hasn't been doing well financially. Spending 100 million at once, you can imagine how he feels. Good thing it's not my money, Luo Feng grinned. After successfully buying the instruction manual, the next step is to buy weapons, battle uniforms, etc. I have 20 million to start with, so I'll save as much as I can. Luo Feng opened the list of weapons and quickly found the Ghost Blade No. 2 series. Ghost Blade No. 2 series, A1. Price. 100,000 Chinese dollars, full price. 50,000 Chinese dollars, half price, requirement. 1 contribution point. Ghost Blade No. 2 series, A2. Price. 500,000 Chinese dollars, full price. 250,000 Chinese dollars, half price, requirement. 1 contribution point. No. 2 series, A5. Price. 6 million Chinese dollars, full price. 3 million Chinese dollars, half price, requirement. 1 star contribution point. Luo Feng carefully looked at the descriptions of the various models and couldn't help but to frown. My strength is increasing very quickly. I believe that soon my body fitness level will reach the advanced warrior level. Since I'm buying a weapon, I naturally have to buy a good one. If it's a regular beginner level warrior, usually you just have to buy an A2 or A3. The contribution point here is 1, and you only need to donate $10,000 to get it. Actually, this so-called 1 contribution point is used to differentiate between the fighters inside the dojo and the fighters outside. Since the Dojo of Limits has an internal network, the Home of Limits, online market, they also have a real fighter market. Fighters from other forces can also buy it, and fighters from other forces can only buy it at full price. With my strength increasing speed, I need to at least buy an A5 or A6 Ghost Blade. Luo Feng shook his head. However, this model requires 1 star contribution point. 1 star, that's 10,000 contribution points. When he bought the instruction manual, he could ignore the contribution point requirement and buy it at the best price. This kind of discount only exists when buying the instruction manual for the first time. However, when buying weapons, battle uniforms, etc., there's no such discount. Blood Shadow Saber A6, full price 20 million. The full price of the A5 model is 6 million. Luo Feng shook his head. The A5 model can fight against most medium-level commander monsters without worrying about the weapon breaking. A6 model weapons can fight against most high-level beast general monsters without worrying about the weapon breaking. With the speed at which he was improving his strength, low-model weapons were obviously not suitable for him. Full price? Too expensive. Luo Feng shook his head. Look at the shield. Luo Feng opened up the shield's page and looked carefully. The price of a shield was much cheaper than a blade. The B5 model, which could also defend against Lieutenant General Beast Generals, had a full price of 3 million Chinese dollars, and a half price of 1,500,000 Chinese dollars. However, the contribution requirement was still 1 star. Backpack. When surviving in the wild and fighting with monsters, the backpacks carried were also special equipment. First of all, the quality of the backpack itself had to be good. Secondly, it was suitable for the cultivator to fight with monsters. It could not affect the cultivator's movements. Backpacks are the cheapest. They only require 1 contribution point. A good one would only cost 100,000. Luo Feng let out a smile. Battle tactical communications watches have satellite positioning, time, phone calls, and many other functions. The price is okay too, also 100,000. Actually, those functions weren't worth much. A cell phone on the market that costs a few hundred has functions like making calls, time, and satellite positioning. The reason why the tactical communications watch costs 100,000 is because of the expensive material. When fighting with monsters, a monster's claw might touch the tactical communications watch. How could the watch be cheap if it was sturdy enough to defend against a monster's attack? Blade, shield, watch, backpack, I've seen them all. The only thing left is the full battle uniform set, including the boots. Luo Feng heard that a battle uniform set is usually the most expensive piece of equipment a fighter has. Because the battle uniform set not only has to have good defense, but it also has to be comfortable and not affect the fighter's quick movements. Luo Feng opened it and looked. Holy! So expensive. Luo Feng was completely dumbfounded. Even the D5 series battle uniform set, which can defend against a medium-level commander, along with the arm guards and boots, costs 18 million Chinese dollars at full price. Even half price is 9 million Chinese dollars. The full price of the D6 is 80 million Chinese dollars. He already knew that battle uniforms were expensive, but he didn't think that the 5th series battle uniform set was 3 times more expensive than a blade of the same level. Now that he calculated. With the same set of 5 series, the battle uniform set is 18 million, the ghost blade is 6 million, and the shield is 3 million for a total of 27 million. If he had a 1-star contribution star, then he would only need 13.5 million. As for the battle watch and backpack, they're nothing compared to the battle uniform set, etc. I also want to buy throwing knives that can be controlled by my spiritual force. At the very least, I need to buy 6 or 10 of them. Luo Feng opened the page for throwing knives again. Throwing knives are small toys. They're small and their weight is even smaller. Naturally, the price of throwing knives is much cheaper than the ghost blade. The full price of a 5th series throwing knife is only 50,000 Chinese dollars. The full price of a 6th series throwing knife is only 300,000 Chinese dollars. The full price of a 7th series throwing knife is 3 million Chinese dollars. Half price is 1.5 million Chinese dollars. Requirement: 2-star contribution star. That's a full 10 times increase. A 7th series throwing knife, if it's strong enough, can completely damage a low-level horde leader monster. The difference between a commander and a horde leader is huge. Luo Feng didn't think that the difference between the prices of these weapons would be so huge. My spiritual force is very strong and it's going to grow very quickly. I originally wanted to buy a 7th series throwing knife, but one costs 3 million, and the half-price requirement is a 2-star contribution star. If I buy 5 or 6 of them, it'll cost around 10 million. Where can I even afford it? This amount of money isn't even enough to spend. Luo Feng originally thought that 20 million was a lot, but now he realized that the price of a fighter's equipment is ridiculously high. Actually, Luo Feng didn't know that the price of these equipment isn't ridiculously high. Keep in mind that even a missile can't kill a horde leader monster. For a throwing knife to be able to pierce through it, one can imagine how high the quality of the throwing knife itself is. A throwing knife for 3 million Chinese dollars is a reasonable price range. Actually, fighters spend a lot of money to buy weapons. However, after they kill powerful monsters, the money they earn will also be quite good. Sadly, Luo Feng hasn't started earning money yet. Around 10 a.m. on the second day, Mingyue Sector, Luo Feng's private garden. A stranger arrived. Mr. Luo Feng, this is the instruction manual you bought. You can open it with your fingerprint. Luo Feng received the sealed alloy box and swiped his finger across the top of the alloy box. Beep. Fingerprint verified. An electronic sound rang and the alloy box opened, revealing a book that was around a centimeter thick. On top of the book were 2 discs. 9-stage Thunderblade. Luo Feng looked at the 4 words on the book. Mr. Luo Feng, open it and take a look. After confirming it, please sign here, smiled the delivery man. However, his gaze towards Luo Feng contained a bit of envy. 9-stage Thunderblade. Normal fighters can't afford it. Mr. Luo Feng, I'm sure you know the rules for buying instruction manuals, right? Laughed the delivery man. According to the rules, I'll say it again. The copyright of the instruction manual belongs to the creator. The 9-stage Thunderblade belongs to Thunder God. The buyer only has the right to learn it but not the right to pass it on. You can't copy, sell, or teach the instruction manual. If anyone violates this rule, the Dojo of Limits, the Thunder Dojo, the Underground Alliance, and the government's army will work together to kill you. Luo Feng nodded. Of course he knew this rule. After checking it, the delivery man left. Just 1 instruction manual and 2 discs cost 100 million Chinese dollars. Luo Feng stood in his garden and sighed. Luo Feng stood in his garden and sighed. Creating instruction manuals is still the most profitable. For example, Thunder God's 9-stage Thunder Blade. The more people buy it, the more money he earns. After some calculations, it's not hard to imagine just how much money Thunder God earned. However, for Thunder God, who created the Thunder Dojo, money doesn't mean much. Right as Luo Feng was about to enter his house with the instruction manual, Luo Feng, a voice rang. Luo Feng turned his head and saw that the person who came was the chief instructor of the Dojo of Limits, Wu Tong. Uncle Wu, laughed Luo Feng. I just saw the delivery man from headquarters. You bought something? Laughed Wu Tong. Yeah, nodded Luo Feng. 9-stage Thunder Blade? Wu Tong saw the 4 words on the cover of the instruction manual in Luo Feng's hand and was shocked. You're actually willing to buy this? Instruction manuals are strictly controlled by the major powers of the world. It's not my money anyway, laughed Luo Feng and then said helplessly, however, I realize that I really don't have enough money right now. Buying blades, battle uniforms, etc. really costs a lot of money. Oh yeah, Luo Feng, I came here to tell you something. Chief Instructor, Wu Tong laughed. Not long ago, was there a young man named Zhang Haobai who offended you? Luo Feng froze. Zhang Haobai? I haven't even had the chance to cause trouble for him yet. Yeah, he tried to find people to break my arms and legs, nodded Luo Feng. It's like this. Zhang Haobai's uncle Zhang Zhe, who is a fighter from the Thunder Dojo. He asked the chief instructor of the Thunder Dojo in Yangzhou City to help him out. He's prepared to settle this privately, laughed Chief Instructor Wu Tong. Luo Feng, aren't you short on money? This is an opportunity to make money. You can take this opportunity to earn a lot. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and turn on the notifications so you won't miss any of our upcoming great videos.